Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending Thursday, November 16th, 2023. Uh, are calling our meeting to order and just want to make an announcement that for a couple of our board members, this will be their last meeting. One of who is not here right now, sadly, but just wanted to say it's been a pleasure working with everyone. I will be here unless somebody does something to me that I don't know about. I ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda that I should be aware of?
I don't believe so, Mr. Chairman, but
Okay, perfect. Moving on, our next section will be our public comment section. This section of the agenda is reserved for people in attendance who wish to briefly address the board. The board requests that comments be limited to 3 minutes or less. People wishing to comment should type comment and their name in the chat box, and they will be recognized.
So the first public comment is Terry McManus.
Okay.
Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah. Good evening. We've got a couple of things. First one being is I wanted to take the time to thank you, Mark, for all of your service. You've worked extremely hard. You have the interest of the town in mind, and I, as a citizen, really appreciate it. Thank you. The second thing is that I'm speaking as a private citizen. I learned of this in the P&Z meeting the other night. I just wanted the Board of Selectmen to take a good look at where we're planning on putting the pickleball courts. As it was outlined, but we got some feedback. I think it's from George. As it was outlined the other night, it's going to be wedged into between the parking lot and the ball field down at the elementary school. There's a number of reasons I think this is a bad idea, but the main one is safety of the children and the location of the court. Anyways, that's about all I have to say on that. And thank you for letting me speak, Mr. Chair.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. Any other public comment?
Yeah, looks like it for now, Dan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Andy? You're on mute.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I consider this an honor and a pleasure to bring up under good to know and special recognition. The first one is for Gail Richmond, who is a longtime resident and did a lot of service to the town of Hebron. So in front of us here tonight, the town of Hebron has a certificate of recognition, and it's awarded to Gail B. Richmond. With sincere appreciation for her many years of dedication and service on the boards of Selectmen from 2015 to 2023. The Library Board of Trustees from 2013 to present, and the Library Study Task Force in 2012, and also 2 Charter Revision Commissions, 2013 and 2018. Very, very honorable record and dedication and service to the town of Hebron. So with that, I'll leave it open for other people to comment.
Peter, Mark?
I'll go first. Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Andy. Yeah, obviously a personal opportunity to thank Gail and just remind everybody how fortunate we are when we have people like Gail Richmond and her willingness to step forward and sacrifice time and energy, but really most importantly, bring passion and commitment to the betterment of our community, and do so simply for the right reasons, without a personal agenda other than what's in the best interest of our town. And it's sad, when she's not as part of this board anymore, but also it's really an opportunity to celebrate her legacy and her commitment and the impact that she has, and obviously continues to have in the town. And so it's an opportunity to say thank you, and hopefully she continues to serve as encouragement for others who might be on the sidelines now, but might see this as, hey, maybe I should bring my talents to the town as well. So hopefully she continues to serve as an inspiration in that capacity. But obviously, as a citizen, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mark, you were going to say?
Yes, absolutely. A testament to Gail's character and what kind of person she is even when I was running against her, she came up and introduced herself and wished me luck, and we struck up a nice conversation. And I've been a great fan and a lover of Gail since. Gail's a very intelligent woman with a great deal of experience. She has a great heart. She's very reasonable. What I also learned from Gail, it doesn't matter what party you come from. When you finally sit down here and be a selectman, what matters is what we do for people and what we do for those people who don't have a voice. And Gail, I missed you when you had your accident, and I wished you were here to finish this out with me. But I have great love for you. You're just a wonderful human being, and it was a pleasure to serve with you. Thanks.
Thank you. And I echo those remarks. To be honest, I'm not even sure how many years I've known Gail. More than I can count. Has always been a person that, as has been said before, has the best interests of the town at heart, whether it was the library or Board of Selectmen. Even on the Charter Commission, everything was for the town, and she would sometimes put her own personal desires aside for what she felt was the betterment of the town. Rare to find those kinds of people today, and that type of knowledge, attitude, and spirit will be sorely missed. I just hope that she's able to enjoy a little bit of time now that she does not have this commitment. Although, to be honest, I kind of expect her to get involved with something else in town. I don't think she's a person that's going to stay down well. And all I can do is hope that she, fully recovers. We had a thing the other night and at Gina Marie's, and she's getting around. I'll bet a little bit rough, but as I say, her spirit will keep her going, and the town will benefit from whatever activity she gets involved in. Thank you. Okay, Andy, yes.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I had just got off the phone with Gail prior to the start of the meeting, and she was hoping at least to be here to thank her colleagues. She also had kind words for serving on the board with all of you. And I told her I would express her sentiments and her accolades. She unfortunately can't make it, but she wanted you all to know she had a pleasure serving with all you as well.
Thank you.
So now, without further ado, we have a person for another citation that's leaving our Board of Selectmen, Mark P. Rivera. The Town of Hebron certification of recognition is awarded to, with sincere appreciation for his years of dedication and service on the Board of Selectmen from 2019 to 2023. He also served on the Steering Committee on Racial Justice and Equity in 2020. He's been a Hebron police officer for over 15 years, and he also held the first office of the SRO at the Ram High School. So thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure working with you as well, and I'll leave the board open to the board for comments.
Okay, Peter?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have been fortunate to know Mark for a number of years now and consider him a friend. But it's an opportunity to uh, take a moment to thank him. As I think back, on the history I know of Mark, and whether it was his time as a teacher or a time in Hartford as a police officer, obviously his time here in Hebron, everywhere he's been, he's the type of person that makes the community better. If you listed all the people's lives he impacted positively, the list, I don't know that it would stop very soon. And in terms of his continuing to give to our community, to give without regard for himself, to give for the right reasons, you're a better person when you get to know Mark. And that's a gift that Mark probably doesn't realize he gives. But when you get to know Mark and you get to be around Mark, you are better for it as a person. Mark, you're an inspiration to how you should be in our community, how you should give back, how you should treat the children and the people in your community, and how others are always first in your mind. And I am sad that you're not going to continue to be here because I think you bring a voice that is then welcome and impactful, and exactly what we're supposed to have, which is regardless of party, what's at the forefront of your mind, which is best for the community, your willingness to compromise, your willingness to collaborate, and your willingness to constantly give and to listen. Make your impact. It's hard to put it into words, and I know it doesn't stop. I mean, I know you've been phenomenal with this active shooter training, and I assume that role will continue. I hope it continues with you as a leader of that. This community needs that as much as anything now to finish that and to make sure that we're doing what we need to do to protect our children and our community. And I can't think of a better person to be leading that effort than you. I can spend the next couple hours talking about you, but the best thing that I can do at the end of the day is simply say thank you.
And myself, the same. I've known Mark for, again, I'm not even sure how many years since he's been in town on the force. An amazing person, an amazing spirit, supporting Hebron, supporting, the kids of Hebron, supporting the townspeople. A easy visual to be able to see Mark's dedication to this town. Go into the meeting room across from the town clerk. That table, Mark built himself. He made that. And that was a tree that, and I'll let you tell, I can't remember exactly. The tree came from town, but he had it milled, finished, and that table is a result of his love for Hebron. Where did that tree come from?
Right in front of the library. Dan and the town cut it down. I brought it out to my sawmill, sawed it up, and turned it into a table. And I'm glad to. That's probably my legacy. That table. The heck with the rest of me. It's the table that's going to outlast me.
It's an enduring show of your love and commitment to this town. Thank you.
I don't know if Mark wants to say anything at this point in time.
Be nice to us, Mark. We were nice to you. Did you have any words you wanted to say, Mark, or are you all set? I don't even see him on here.
We might have lost him.
Oh, okay.
Chairman Larson, there is one more public comment that came up. It's Will.
Okay.
Oh, I don't want to come till the end, so don't worry about that.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I see you're back, Mark. So
He's on.
you're on mute.
Hey guys, I'm actually over at the fire department. Just got
We
done
could
with
tell.
training, so my phone keeps kicking me out. So Chief Starkell let me in over here. So I just heard Danny wrapping up. That was the last thing I heard.
We didn't know if you wanted to say any words or not.
Absolutely, I do. I the kind words that you shared are very moving and make everything worthwhile. I feel that I might have got more out of this than I gave. The friendships that I made, it was an honor to serve Hebron. I've actually been a policeman here for 18 years. Um, I met my wife here at Something Simple 10 years ago. A lot of good things have happened here. I first want to start with Peter. Peter and I have become really close friends over this. We knew each other a little bit, but just in passing. And Peter was the highest vote getter. And that's for a reason. Peter has the biggest heart. He's the most accommodating individual, the more supportive individual. He made it a pleasure to serve on the board. I'm gonna miss being with him every other Thursday and all our conversations, all his support. Um, Peter's everything that's good about Hebron, and then leaving, it makes me feel good that Peter's still going to be there. Um, I don't think people really understand the contribution that Peter makes by just being the human being that he is. And Peter, I thank you. It was quite an honor to serve with you, and I'm a better person for having my association and friendship with you. Thank you. And Dan, we've known each other for 18 years. When I first came here from Hartford, you were the fire chief, and I don't think people completely understand you. It's hard to really understand people that are in office as people. And although we may come from different parties, and sometimes you and I don't agree on everything, you're always a gentleman about it. You'll always listen. You have concern for people. People don't realize all the volunteer work that you do, the dinners that you put on for people that are less fortunate, dressing up as a bunny, all the things that you would do, and humiliate yourself to be to contribute something to this town. And you're like Mr. Hebron. And Dan, it was also an honor to serve with you. I got to talk about Gail already. I think we had a great board. Tiffany came on and brought a lot of new insight and more of a youthful voice, because the rest of us are, especially you and I, Dan, are getting a little on in years. And it was refreshing to have Tiffany on with the expertise that she brings, and new ideas. And I'm confident with the new selectmen coming in with Keith and Claudia. I know Keith, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do a great job. In fact, I am sure. I don't really know Claudia, but my wife said that is a good human being and has a good heart and is a good person. And regardless of what your politics are, what I learned here is it matters more what kind of person you are and how you feel about people, and the willingness you have to give up some of yourself and maybe some of the things that you want for the best interest of others. So there's my fellow board members. And in closing, I'd like to talk about the town hall a little bit. Andy, we've known each other for 18 years now. I met you when you were the public works director. Um, we've had a friendship. We've disagreed. We've agreed. We've hugged. We've been mad at each other. But I have great respect for you and your talent and your perseverance and your ability to withstand criticism and go on and do the best you can, even during adversity. But I would like to say that those few voices that are in opposition, there's more voices that are in support of you, and are grateful to have you. There's no substitute for experience. There's no substitute for trying to be fair to everyone. And one thing I could say about you is you haven't picked sides, whether it be the fire department, the police department, the boards of ed, the public works. You try to be fair with everybody, and that's how I'll remember you most. And always being willing to listen. The rest of your staff, Donna's a gem. Donna's has so much information and such a dedication to the town and her work. And Donna, since I've met you too, you've always been so helpful. You've been a guide to me and taught me so many things. And Dory, you haven't been here as long, but you call up Dory and, you realize when you call the town hall that there's somebody who's on the other end that's listening and cares and values what you have to say, and everyone else in there, from Elaine to Tammy. It's just, I don't think anybody can really appreciate the value of our town hall. And I can, because I've been to a lot of different places in my life, guys, and we have it pretty good here. And again, and then I'd like to lastly thank the town for electing me, for supporting me, for all the good things you said to me. I've had a few tough times where people don't really think too highly of you or want to make some insulting comments, but the overwhelming feeling I have from this community is nothing but love, and it's been an honor to represent you, and I've done all of you justice, and my participation here as a selectman. I'll continue on as a police officer for a year or two more, and I thank all of you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on. Appointments and resignations. Andy?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we'll go down, we'll do them one at a time if that's okay with you and the board.
Yes, please.
So it's my honor and privilege here at this time under item 6 on the agenda, 6A, to confirm appointment of a finance director. And then there's a proposed motion, which I'll read, that'll help introduce this candidate to the public. So move that the pursuant to Hebron's Town Charter, Section 801 and 802, the Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's appointment of Lori Granado as the finance director effective February 3rd, 2024, with an employment date of December 4th, 2023. And we do have Lori on here with us tonight. If anybody wants to ask her some questions, I think she'd do her best to answer those, and you can get to know her.
Hi, everyone.
Good day. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very
I'll let-
much.
I'll let my fellow select people go first, which is usually my custom. Peter? That's right.
Well,
Unmute.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah. We're very fortunate to have an opportunity to have you join us, and we thank you for that. And I understand you have a little history with the town, and so, as you can tell maybe from the earlier comments, that although we have a lot of serious work to do, the small town atmosphere gives you an opportunity to take it to make it personal and to really feel invested. And so I'm just interested in sort of what attracted you to look at Hebron and to think about this opportunity compared to where you've been. Obviously, it's a small town. There's a different series of challenges and opportunities. And I just get an opportunity maybe to just for a couple minutes for you to just tell us kind of what what you're thinking and what you were thinking and what attracted you to be interested in the opportunity to begin with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I spent some time in the city of New Britain, hard hit New Britain, and they had some significant problems for a couple of years. And I was recruited to be part of the finance team to help them out of that. It was a great challenge. I've spent most of my career in some facet of public finance, whether it be on the investment banking side, issuing bonds and doing investments, to, excuse me, working in the public sector. So when I left, I said to myself, I want to continue my public service someplace, but I also wanted to be a little bit picky as to where it was that I would think about going next. And when this opportunity opened up, being from Hebron for 28 years, knowing the town relatively well, it intrigued me. Mr. Tierney and I had a conversation, and we just moved from there.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mark?
Hi, Lori. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. I can appreciate the experience that you've gotten in New Britain, and I'm sure that will serve us well. Having been a Hartford police officer and a Hartford teacher, I realize what a demanding and highly charged environment it is being in cities. So I'm excited for you to bring whatever experience you have to our little community here. I know Andy was bragging about you. He wanted us to read your resume, and he's very happy to have you. And we're lucky because it's a tough market out there to find qualified people. So Andy, thanks for finding Lori, and I'm glad you're here, and I look forward to you doing the best you can for our town.
Thank you, thank you. I know I have big shoes to fill, and Elaine's gonna stick around for a little bit to show me the ropes, but I will truly do my best to add value and serve the town.
Thank you.
And again, all I can say is thank you. Yeah, small towns have some advantages, and I'm glad you're willing to give it a shot here and see what those advantages are. And maybe 20 years from now, you'll be saying, okay, maybe it's time I retire. Um, I'm not sure I'll be around in 20 years, or if I am, I probably won't remember my name. That's another story. Yeah. But thank you. Welcome aboard. I'll read the motion and put it to a vote and go from there. Move that pursuant to the Hebron Town Charter, sections 801 and 802. The Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's appointment of Lori Granato as finance director effective February 3rd, 2024, with an employment date of December 4th, 2023. Any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark? You're on mute.
Mark Rivera, aye.
And myself, I. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
welcome aboard.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard.
I can't wait to get started.
Great. Few more days. It's amazing how time is going. It like we were saying before the meeting, it just flies. It just flies.
It does.
Anyway, okay, Andy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for the viewing public, I just want to acknowledge that Elaine is retiring after 30 years. So it's not like there's any rumble at the town hall with a mass exodus. Most of the people that are retiring are leaving us for retirement. This next appointment is for the assessor, who was only with us for a year. But what happened was is she lives in Putnam, and that job came open, and it's less than a mile or right around a mile from her home. So she was driving there every day. It was for a similar amount of money, but she came up and talked to me, and I totally understood the rationale that she has. So we're very lucky again tonight. We went out and we had some qualified candidates, but tonight I'm looking to introduce Suzanne Topliff as the assessor, and if approved, she'll be effective December 4th, 2023, and I believe she's with us as well.
I am. Good evening.
Good evening. You just want to say a little bit about yourself, or?
Sure. I have been in assessment for about a decade. I've done more for in larger towns. I'm currently with the city of Marin as a deputy assessor, and I was looking to transition into an assessor position. The idea of a small town appealed to me. When I was younger, I lived in Vernon, so we spent a lot of time in the summer at Gay City, or we passed through Hebron on our way to other places. So when the position became available, I was really intrigued because I knew Hebron to be a town of just had a great character and something that really interested me. I've been speaking with the staff who is currently in the assessor's office, and it seems like it's going to be between the tax collector and the assessor's office, a really great team. I look forward to it. And I really have to give Tina, the prior assessor, acknowledgement. I'm reading through a very detailed list she left me about the work she had done in the year she was here. And it looks like she not only left me a very detailed list of what there is, but also really had a great respect for the town itself. So, but I'm really excited to take that next step in my career and do it with the town of Hebron.
Great. I'll read the motion. We'll go from there. Move that pursuant to the Hebron Town Charter, sections 801 and 803, the Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's appointment of Suzanne Toplip as assessor effective December 4th, 2023. Again, Peter and Mark, any comments or questions?
I don't have any questions. I just obviously thank her as I do Lori, and welcome her aboard, and obviously credit to Andy being able to find two very qualified and capable individuals that are willing to serve the Hebron community in a relatively short time period. I think we're very fortunate. So great job to Andy and his staff of being able to identify these folks, and obviously being able to attract them as well. So welcome aboard.
Mark?
I would also like to welcome you, Suzanne. I would just say one thing, coming to Hebron, I think you're going to enjoy it because you're more a part of a community than a person of authority who makes decisions that can make people happy or unhappy based on how you assess things. But we're a community, and if I had any advice for you, it would be that just caring what's in the best interest of the citizens would serve you well. I'm sure you have a great deal of experience that you can share with us, and I'm happy to have you here with us, and I hope you'll be happy in this position also.
I hope so too. I'm used to wearing a lot of hats. I'm used to performing a lot of different functions. I started from the bottom and worked my way up. So all the administrative positions that you kind of, start with and grow through. Sometimes people come into assessment at a higher level because of the background or a certain degree, but I've had the opportunity to work through all different kinds of aspects that I've seen in an assessor's office. So I hope I can use that to really embrace it with the town of Hebron.
Good comment. I think that gives you a great depth of experience on how to deal with people of all levels, instead of somebody who's just been at the top their whole lives and doesn't understand what it is to struggle and work and get along with people to get the job done. That's good. I
Absolutely.
like that.
Thank you.
Okay, hearing the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
And myself, aye. Thank you. Welcome aboard. When do you start? Or
Lori and I are starting the same day. We're starting on December 4th.
oh, great. Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay,
And I'm very familiar with New Britain as well. So hard hitting
oh,
the house.
And
Wow.
I'm familiar with Meriden as well, so we have something in common.
There you go.
hopefully that's a good thing.
A very good thing.
Yes.
Okay, Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is a proposed motion, and it's to reappoint the Hebron police officers. So in your packet, there was a letter from the resident state trooper that's addressed to myself, dated November 13th, 2023, Andrew J. Tierney, Hebron Town Manager, from Trooper Bryce Reed, badge number 1326, Hebron Resident State Trooper. Subject matter is Hebron Police Officers Reappointment. Dear Mr. Tierney, I've been assigned to the Hebron Resident Trooper's Office since July of 2021. Throughout my time in Hebron, I have supervised and worked alongside each of the 5 police officers in their various capacities as SRO, patrol, Hebron events, and etc. I have directly witnessed the hard work, compassion, and professionalism portrayed by each Hebron police officer. This memorandum is to highly recommend each of the following Hebron police officers for reappointment. It lists Officer Mark Rivera, KC-58, Officer Ricardo Martinez, KC-59, Officer Thomas Regan, KC-56, Officer Thomas Topoulos, KC-57, and Officer Kevin Dowd, KC-55, respectively submitted Bryce Reed, Hebron Resident State Trooper.
Okay, I'll read the motion and open up for discussion.
Hey,
Move that,
before we go, Dan, do I have to recuse myself from at least appointing myself? Well, can I appoint the others but not myself? What do I do there?
With only three, we have to be unanimous, right?
I would think so, but he also has the right to recuse himself. I mean, that's a good point.
Maybe I just recuse for voting for myself. Hey, if it's legal, I'll just vote to appoint everybody to make it easier. But I'm not sure if there's some conflict of me actually appointing myself.
well, it's a reappointment. And I would say under the circumstances, since it's just three of us, we would need, if we need to have three affirmatives for something to pass, hold on.
It will be a majority of the quorum.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, you have the right to recuse yourself if it's a conflict. Danny's right. It is a reappointment. You're already, been a police.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
think,
true. It's not like I'm electing to hire myself.
I think it
let's
would-
vote for it.
I think we could hopefully, because of the situation, get under the skin of our teeth with, a reappointment, needing the three votes.
Good point, Andy.
I'm not sure myself right now if you recuse yourself, if it would pass with the two of the three as a majority. I would have to check with the town attorney.
Hold on a minute.
What do you think, Peter?
The selectmen do require 3 votes to pass any motion,
That's what I thought.
right?
Okay.
So I would say in the flavor of
I
the
asked you
situation.
we are doing the reappointments for the police officers. There's only three of us. Mark has to recluse himself because he's one of the ones being reappointed. If I put you on speakerphone, will you vote your conscience?
Yeah, that's not really legal.
Oh, I'll read it right now. We're at that point.
Hold on.
But as I say, because Mark, there's only three of us on. Right, correct. Because Mark will have to recluse himself because he can't reappoint himself. Yeah, Mark,
What do you
Peter, and
think,
myself.
Peter?
Okay, I'll put you on speakerphone. Okay. Can everybody hear Gail? Say something, Gail, please.
Okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Can you?
I can hear.
Okay. Okay. Move that pursuant to Hebron Town Charter, Section 804 in the Hebron Town Code, Section, excuse me, 100-1. The Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's reappointment of the following Hebron police officers for a 2-year term to run until December 2025. Kevin Dowd, Ricardo Martinez, Thomas Reagan, Mark Rivera, and Thomas Tepelis.
Thomas Tupolis. Okay.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
I'll recuse myself.
Gail,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Motion carries.
So let me jump in there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, this is not right.
I just want to state what I know, and Donna knows the same thing because she just texted me, but I already knew it. So in order for somebody to be part of a quorum, they're supposed to be on the meeting and stay on for the whole meeting. It's not perceived as legal to call somebody up and have them jump on and jump off. You're trying to be transparent for the public and make decisions and do the business of the town. So I would request that we probably move forward and put this back on the agenda for the next meeting for confirmation with more of a quorum to make it official.
Okay. Is that going to disrupt the serving of our police force until our next meeting?
What I would do is, as Mark suggested earlier, is move forward and then with the motion removing his name and approve those other officers, and then we can do Mark at the following meeting, and we'll just, trying to be legal and do it the right
Okay.
way.
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you anyway, Gail.
Yes,
Okay.
of course, Dan.
Thanks, Gail.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
I was trying.
I know.
Okay. So, I'll redo the motion then, leaving Mark off. Move that pursuant to the Hebron Town Charter, Section 804, the Hebron Town Code, Section 100-1. The Hebron Board of Selectmen confirm the town manager's reappointment of the following Hebron police officers for a 2-year term to run until December 2025. Kevin Dowd, Ricardo Martinez, Thomas Reagan, and Thomas Topolis, with Officer Rivera being brought up at our next regularly scheduled meeting due to only a 3-member Board of Selectmen at this meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and myself, aye. That
Okay.
cover?
I think we snuck that one through for now. I'll check with Ken after, but I think that's good for the police officers who are appointed, and hopefully the time frame will also work for Mark. I don't
Okay.
see a problem doing what's right for the town, so.
Okay, because our next meeting will actually be the 7th.
Seven.
So,
Would it be with the new board?
right. Okay. And then planning and zoning appeals alternate appointment.
Yes. Item D, zoning board of appeals alternate appointment attached is correspondence from June Danaher, registered as a Republican, expressing her interest in serving as an alternate on the zoning board of appeals. And then there's a proposed motion.
Okay. I do know that there was an individual, and we have done in the past, if someone wants to make comment under a specific item, there have been allowed in the past to talk at that item. And I believe that I had seen, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, that somebody wanted to make a comment.
Yes, Will is asking if he would be able to comment after item 6D.
After, okay. Okay, so move the Hebron Board of Selectmen appoint June Danaher as an alternate on the Hebron Board of Appeals to a term to run until December 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and myself, aye. Okay, is this gentleman
Oh, yeah, I'm ready
available?
to talk. Can I speak now?
Yes, sir.
I'm confused how we had just had an election for someone and they ran and they won, and then all of a sudden you guys are appointing someone. Can someone just explain to me how is that legal, ethical?
Andy?
Yes, so that's a great question. Thank you. Will, could you just state your name and your address, please, so we know that you're a resident for the
Oh,
record?
I'm William Alexander. I'm the other alternate on zoning board of appeals, 29
Okay.
Horseview Avenue. So I
Thank you.
actually this concerns me, so I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. and Hopefully I can quell your concerns. So under the present charter that we have, the new elected officials aren't appointed till the following Tuesday after the election. That would be next Tuesday, the 21st. That's when the new board gets appointed. There's going to be a ceremony at the old town hall, And then their first meeting with being seated after they're sworn in, which would be the 21st, would be December 7th. So it's
Just correct me if I'm wrong, but you just appointed someone because a guy who just ran dropped out. It just seems rather shady to me. Am I wrong?
well, I didn't look at it that way, but
I'm sorry.
maybe I
I
didn't.
have a total of 3 minutes, so I'm going to use it in spurts.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Let's talk this out. I didn't.
But we just had an election, what, a week and a half ago?
Absolutely.
And a guy that was on there, a Republican, ran, he won, and then he drops out. And then you guys all of a sudden appoint someone who sent a letter on October 4th, it was, I'm not sure. Or an email saying that she wanted to be appointed. So this seems like it was planned beforehand. Does it not, Andy?
Well, no. So there's a difference between appointed positions and elected positions. So I'm not sure what you're referring to. I would have to look into that a little bit more. I got the list in front of me. So who was the person you're speaking?
No, you're saying that you're appointing another alternate to zoning board of appeals, correct?
Yes.
Why?
So are you saying that the person Steve Weir, is that who you're talking about?
So did he drop out? Why are you appointing a new person? I'm confused when we just had an election.
And that's a good question. Now, Donna, was there more open seats on that? Is this a?
There are three alternate seats for the zoning board of appeals. So
Yeah,
there is
but
a- there is a vacant,
there were only 2 on the ballot.
correct.
So why are there 3? I'm confused.
Because there are 3 alternate seats for the zoning board of appeals.
I'm not
This
a very
is-
smart person. Can you run me through why the 3rd seat wasn't on there?
The term ends in 2025.
So the
So-
terms are staggered, so that.
These are
So someone
4-year
else just
terms.
dropped. Who dropped out?
It's been vacant for a while. The people that were just elected are elected for the 4-year full
But-
term.
I'm confused. Why would we leave a vacant seat when we're having an election? Why wouldn't that be on the ballot as well?
I'll jump in. So the terms are staggered every 2 and 4 years. So the election that we just had, the 2 people that filled those seats, those terms were up and those people ran for it. The other seat, the term wasn't up, so it gets appointed by the Board of Selectmen. And so it's filling somebody's term.
That just seems so. Is this part of the town charter? Is this something we
Yes,
can
sir.
change?
Yes.
Because I don't. If we're having an election, shouldn't people be able to elect that person instead of the 3 of the selectmen that are on the call right now?
Once again, the explanation is that that term wasn't up for election. So the process that's listed in the charter is it's appointed by the selectmen.
So when are we changing the charter?
That charter is on the agenda for tonight to be opened up and people have submitted a name to sit on the committee.
Awesome. Let's get that changed because I feel that all of you feel, I'm just assuming that people should be able to vote in their officials and not have 3 people have all the control, correct?
We only
Well-
have control when someone drops out. At this point, sir, I'm going to cut this discussion so we can move further or move along with our other business. But thank you for your questions.
Cool.
Okay. Our next item would be the reappointments, Andy?
No, I think, yes, you're right. 2020 reappointments. I got moving some stuff around in my packet. Donna has them up on the board. I don't know, I must get stuck with this other.
So these are people who have been appointed to different commissions and have expressed a desire to remain on those commissions. And these are 4-year terms. So I'll propose the motion. Move the Hebron Board of Selectmen reappoint the following individuals for a 4-year term to run until December 2027. Going to do them hopefully all at once, unless someone wants me to do them individually. What's the pleasure of the board? All at once? Okay, we have Commission on Aging. We have Catherine Litwin and Sandra Waldo. The Conservation Commission, Jasmine Ognig. Economic Development Commission, John Lasisko. Green Committee, Caitlin Hershey, Michael Harder, and Brian Barlow as the alternate. Historic Properties Commission, Patricia Larson, and again, with the same thing with Mark, do I have to recluse myself on that one?
This is a little bit different. I hope people understand. Mark is being compensated as a police officer where your wife's not
Okay.
getting any financial compensation, so I would feel more comfortable with you voting on this one,
Okay,
as it's a volunteer.
yep. Parks and Recreation Commission, Katie Wilcox, Ryan Price, and Travis Carter. Public Building Committee, Wayne Warwick, and the WPCA, Kevin Grady. Hearing the list of people that are seeking reappointment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and myself, aye. Thank you. Next, Andy.
Okay. Trying to get caught up here. I believe it's the town manager's report. Okay, so as we well know, and just discussed, the elections are finished, and we did have one recount, which ended up in a coin toss, and we have a list of the candidates that we will be posting and made public. But for the most part, things stayed pretty much the same. We have some new people. We have Claudia Riley and Keith Pettit that will be joining the Board of Selectmen after the swearing in on the 21st, and so on. The town employees went through their first round of bias training. Most are done. We're almost completed with that. So that's something the Board of Selectmen wanted us to do and approve. So that's underway. And as you can see, we've made some hires. So we were busy conducting interviews, most recently with the assessor. I also had a meeting with the state police. We have a situation in town where our services between the fire, ambulance, and the police department are going to a residence, which is overwhelming our services more than we should be. So we're trying to address that issue. So we've been working on that. We had the Vets Luncheon down at the Senior Center, which was well attended for Veterans Day last week. We had our Region 8 Insurance Consortium meeting, and we're starting to look at the rates for the budget process. So those percentages are starting higher than in the last couple of years, so bear with us. Hopefully they continue to come down. It's still early in the process. We had a meeting and we're reviewing the facilities assessment. We met with the building, or a couple members of the building committee today, and we're working with that company to see if we can't get some of that stuff improved and moving forward. And this is a good time to bring this up. I probably should have brought it up sooner, but there's only 3 of you here. We do need to get a Board of Selectmen's photo done with the existing board here. So we'd have to try to schedule that. I know that was like nailing jello to a tree with Mark the last time. So I don't know if we cropped them in or what, but we probably should follow that procedure we normally do. And then, as I stated earlier, per the charter, the swearing in ceremony is November 21st. It's at the Old Town Hall at 7 p.m., which is a Tuesday. And that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, beautiful. And I'm glad you stated the time because I noticed it, or I knew it was the 21st, but there wasn't a time. So. I'm sorry, I'm writing. I get very, very quiet when I write. I apologize. Obviously, I can't multitask on that aspect. Okay, beautiful. Any questions or anything for Andy? Okay. Next, Andy, you want to get into this one?
Yeah, sure. I'll start it off. Item 8A, American Rescue Plan State and Local Recovery Funds Update. So attaches a memo from the Public Building Committee requesting that the Board of Selectmen consider an additional appropriation of $78,000 through the ARPA funds for the Fire Company Number 1 Garage Bay Expansion Construction Project. Bids recently received all came in over budget, and the bid summary is attached. The current ARPA approval funding for this project was $161,100. Attached is the ARPA summary report. So what that is we're putting an expansion on the Company 1 firehouse so we can house both ambulances in the same place, which is something the state of Connecticut would prefer. And we also have some fire apparatus rearranged for the meantime because of the shortage of space. So this project is something that would help us be more efficient in our response times for the fire department, and then logistically place the equipment where the chief and the chief officers think it belongs. Other than that, I can turn it over to, I know we have building committee members. I know Mel was working on this with a couple people. So if it's appropriate, we can ask Mr. Lecter to speak on behalf of the building committee, or him and Mr. Steiner, either one.
Having a problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Problem with my camera.
You just lost your volume.
All right. Hang on. Go ahead.
Okay. Mel?
Yes, hang on.
Okay.
Just getting out a different microphone. Is that better?
Yeah, you turn it down a little bit, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you are again
Hang on.
better.
Hello?
Too far down.
Hello?
Yes.
I can't hear you. Wait a minute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Just shake your head if you can hear me. Okay. I'm having a problem on both ends here with the voice and camera. But at any rate, I wrote the memo that you have in front of you, and we received bids on the 20th of October. Low bid as in front of you was $191,000 plus $4,500 for an ad alternate. The ad alternate was to remove a piece of steel from the floor that was in there from the existing building, used to protect the concrete where it stepped from the trucks rolling over it and stopping it from disintegrating just from the weight. We have at this point not included the alternate, and the building committee will discuss that. And we've also discussed it with the town in terms of alternate ways to get this done. With the increase of almost $30,000 on the construction side, and the next bid down only looking to get one $1,100. We felt that $4,500 was more than we wanted to pay for this alternate. So at any rate, we received 3 bids. We received a bid from Saracen of $191,000, which is the one that we're going to speak to tonight. We received a bid from Millennium Builders for $254,700. And we received a third bid from Zeiss Construction Group LLC for $302,207. Obviously, the apparent low bidder is $191,000. However, we only had 100, based on the memo that you have, you can see that though we had $161,000 in our, let me get back there. I can't scroll on the screen there. We had $133,000 for construction plus $28,100 for soft costs. That's engineering, testing, design plans, and contract administration, as well as oversight of the project by a design and engineer professional. So we went from $161,000 in our current ARPA budget to $191,000 requirement. Along with that, nowhere obviously in the bid is there any money carried for contingency. Contingency is simply dollars that may have not been or accounted for, or items in the project that have not been counted for in either the design plans or in the bid itself. You come up, you start breaking up a wall and you find there's asbestos in the wall. Well, that has to be abated. That would be an example of what might have to be covered under contingency. According to our design professional, he recommends that we carry 20,000. However, doesn't anticipate much, if any, of that 20,000 will need to be spent, simply because the area that we're adding on to at the firehouse is wide open. There's no very little that we can't see. And he has included everything else in the bid requirement, and Saracen has said they've included everything in the bid. The funding source, and if you go down to the last page of the project, you can see the area that has, if you're looking at it and have color, the green numbers. It says that we had $161,000 in the budget. We need $58,000 in addition just to meet the bid from Saracen. And we would like to add $20,000 for contingency. Now, just a quick word on contingency is anything we don't spend in contingency comes right back to the town, if it's town funds, or the ARPA balance if it's ARPA funds. So this project is slated to start in late March, early April, and should be completed sometime midsummer. I believe Donna had confirmed that we have to spend all the ARPA money by 2026. So there would still be time to reallocate any amount that's sent back. So we would need you tonight to approve an additional $78,000. We recommend, and I'll give you some reasons why, but we recommend that you approve it out of the ARPA funds for several reasons. Number one, as I said earlier, these bids were received, or this bid was received, all bids were received on October 20th. We have 60 days to act on, to either accept, reject. If we do nothing, the bid proposal expires. And at that point, we would either have to negotiate for an extension, or we would have to rebid. with, and this is all supposition, with the current bidder seeing that the next lowest bidder was $60,000 higher than he was, he is likely not going to be open to extending his bid. So if we go back out to bid, then according to our design professionals, we can expect probably not to even receive one for $191,000. It will probably be more costly. We also, now getting into the recommendation of where the funds should come from. ARPA funds, and both Richard will comment as soon as I'm done here. Both ARPA funds, both any project funded under ARPA is not governed under the Connecticut CHRO, the human rights requirements. Therefore, we don't have to meet any of their needs, their documentation, their research, and affirmation that we're going out and trying to hire minority-owned businesses, et cetera. So along with that, if we were to include these out of town funds, number one, town funds would have to be supplemental appropriations, what I'm talking about. A supplemental appropriation would have to first be recommended to the Board of Finance by the Board of Selectmen. And this is all coming out of our charter. Once it's recommended, the Board of Finance would act on it. Assuming they act positively and approve it, it would then go back to the Board of Selectmen, who would then have to act on it. They would have to vote on it. By that time, our commitment from Saracen would be expired. It expires, I believe, on December 20th, 60 days after the bid was received. Thank you for the affirmation, Richard. I see him shaking his head there. So the Board of Finance is not scheduled to meet till, I believe it's the 14th or the 15th of December. And after the 7th, I'm not even sure that, Dan, that your board has another meeting in December because of the holiday. So that would, at that point, we would need to go back out to bid. The other piece is that just even if we were to be able to negotiate an extension, if we were to do it with town and to fund it with town funds, we would also need to increase the 191 by $5,000 to $10,000. That's information provided to us by our design professional in order for monies to town monies to go in the amount of, we're not talking $4,000 or $5,000. We're talking almost $80,000. We would have to conform to CHRO requirements, and that costs the vendor time and manpower. So the offer or the proposal, the thought from our design professional, it would be $5,000 to $10,000. So we'd be looking at an increase there. The other piece is if you're going to at some point run out of funds and you decide that in ARPA, I'm talking about, if you're going to run out of funds, that means for each individual project, you're going to have the exposure, not necessarily depending on the amount, but you're going to have the exposure of additional dollars due to CHRO. You're also going to have to go to the Board of Finance for additional dollars, meaning if they've expended over their allowed amount without town meeting, which is about $220,000 as confirmed by Elaine earlier today. Once we were to, if the Board of Finance was to approve over multiple projects, more than $220,000, it would have to go to town meeting. If you're going to take multiple projects to town meeting, it's not going to look too too well organized in terms of was this whole thing budgeted properly, and that's more a comment than a fact. That's my comment, as opposed to a fact. But we know in the past that the town has been agreeable to make or to approve supplement appropriations in very small numbers each year. It's generally because we have a bad winter and we have to, we go over our budget in either manpower or materials, and that has to be funded. But not too many other things do go to supplemental appropriation because our finance office and our Board of Finance does an excellent job in managing the budget, within their abilities. So that's why we recommend going, at least with this project, out of ARPA. And if you want to revisit that at a later date, then you certainly can do that. But we will lose this project at the cost it is right now if we can't fund it tonight. And the reason we're coming to you tonight is because before we can make a recommendation to your board, to the Board of Selectmen, we have to have the funding in place. Obviously, it makes sense. So before coming to you on the 7th, which would be your last meeting before the expiration date of this proposal, we would need to have the dollars approved tonight so that we can come to you, and we will, as I said at the end of the memo here, we will, if it is approved tonight, we will come to you on the 7th with the architect, with the fire chief, with myself and Richard and anyone else from the building committee that can make it, to not only give you a presentation, but to answer these and any other questions. So I'm going to wrap up at this point, and Richard, please fill in where I left off, where I may have left something out.
Just very briefly, thank you, Board of Selectmen. I just want to reiterate one point. As Mal indicated, the current low bidder, their bid submission expires on December 20th. And that is really the reason why the building committee is lobbying that ARPA money be allocated to pick up the cost overrun. The other thing that we did as standard policy for the town of Hebron is we had a post-bid scope confirmation meeting, and we really methodically went through the low bidders' bid submission by labor and material. And one of the things that became abundantly clear to the architect and the members of the building committee, and was confirmed by Saracen, the extreme volatility in the cost of materials. And we've been seeing this for quite some time, that price increases typically would have been, in the past, pre-COVID, would have been twice, 3 times a year. We're now seeing where price increases on material are happening on a monthly basis. It's starting to ebb a little bit, but there are certain parts of the construction industry where the escalation is it is literally on a monthly basis, and it's hard to peg. And somebody to put a bid in that is tying these numbers down. So those are the 2 reasons why we are making and submitting a request to the Board of Selectmen to take the additional funds out of the ARPA so that we can make a commitment with this contractor for his submitted price before December 20th.
And we'd be glad to answer any questions. I mean, a typical question may be, well, if we approve this, are you going to come back and ask for more? And the answer is no, because assuming on the 7th of December, you will authorize the town manager to execute this proposal. And at that point, they're locked into whatever pricing it comes up. Unless it's a change order that was left out, they're locked into the pricing. So that isn't going to happen if we can get this approved. Any other questions that you might have? We'd be more than happy to answer.
Pete?
I have a question, and as always, you guys do a wonderful job, and with the detail, with the rationale, and as I'll get into in later, because I have a question first, is I don't know that I'm going to agree, but it's not because of the lack of preparation and sound reasoning and everything that you always provide. So I thank you for that. The sense of urgency to complete this project, putting cost aside for a second, maybe this is a question for Andy. I know we want the ambulances in the same place and we're supposed to have them, and there's some issues there, but do we have to do this now? Forgetting cost, putting cost aside for a second, I clearly hear the cost argument, but are we required to do this now?
Well, I think even if we were to award this bid, I want to make it clear the project probably wouldn't start till the spring. I'm not sure if you knew that.
No, I mean now, like if we did, I'm just trying to sort of think through all this. If we didn't do this project at all because we couldn't, we didn't move forward and the money didn't line up, what happens? Other than that, it's going to cost more money later. Is it are we in violation of a state contract? Are we going to be fined? Or is there a safety risk? I'm just trying to understand the full, and you may have explained this before. I just don't remember.
No, that's okay. Now that I know what you're looking for. So no, we're not going to get fined. I don't even know if it's frowned upon, but the normal protocol is to, when you get sanctioned by the Department of Health, and then we have professional people in our fire department and EMS, that your response time is also an issue that you want to make sure you get the best response time. Having ambulances in separate locations doesn't accomplish that. So to answer your question, in a perfect world, they should be together, but do we have to do it right now? The short answer is no, but I think what they're saying is that we're going to do it at some point. It's going to cost more later.
Sure. No, that argument's very lucid and clear. I understand that part. But that was my question, Mr. Chairman. I have comments, but maybe you said questions first, so I'll turn it over to you and to Mark for other questions.
Pete, one addition to your question there was on the meeting that Richard referred to, after we spoke with the vendor, just to ensure that they were clear what we wanted in the contract, they were clear what we expected in the contract. Chief Starkel was with us, and I asked him flat out, as Andy said, the current guidelines or the current documentation from the state says, and I see the chief sitting in the background, and if I'm wrong, Peter, please correct me. But I believe the current documentation says we have to have 2 ambulances in the center of town. So my question to Pete was, well, if we have to have them in the center of town, can't we apply and ask for a waiver on that? And my comment to him was, before I let him answer, was, I know it affects service. I also know it affects finance. And my comment as a member of the Board of Finance was to the chief was, it certainly is in the town's best interest from a financial perspective not to do this. However, is it in the best interest of the people of Hebron not to have the 2 ambulances there, to apply for a waiver, be allowed to move one either to the north end or the south end of town? And, is it in the best interest of the people of Hebron? And we know from, and I won't steal your story, Chief. We know that since the Colebrook Village has opened up, we have a tremendous amount of activity there. So we did pursue and we did ask the question. And Pete, we'd love to have your comment so that both the board and the public are aware of your position on it.
Thanks, Mal. Just to kind of follow up on that. So right now we actually have both ambulances parked in the center of town. And when I came to town, that was one of Andy and I kind of put a priority list together, and getting the second ambulance back into the center was at the top of the list. Now, we are licensed with the Department of Public Health to have both ambulances here. You can certainly apply for a waiver, and if you wanted to move one out to a substation. So we're not bound by law that says you have to have them here, but from a public safety standpoint, it's important to have them here. And I'll give you an example. So again, when I first became fire chief, we had the second ambulance parked down at the Church Street station. When the first crew would go out with the first ambulance, I would either get in my car and drive to Company 2 and sit there and wait for another call to come in or until the first crew was available, or I would drive the ambulance back to the center and sit here in the center of town with it, because our response times for a second call, when we had to drive down and get the other ambulance and come all the way back, were exceeding 20 minutes, in some cases 25 minutes before we were even on scene, which from a public safety standpoint is just unacceptable. So we felt getting the second ambulance back here was an absolute priority, which we did. But in doing so, we had to move our tanker, which is another pretty important part of our fleet, down to Company 2. So this project not only would allow us to park both ambulances in here in Company 1 together, but it would also free up that space so we could move the tanker back to the center of town. So kind of twofold. It's the ambulances, I think, are the most important. Obviously, 79% of our business is EMS, but getting that tanker back here too is the second part of that, and another important piece.
Don't go away, please. I have a couple of questions. First off, we're now getting up to literally $250,000. This all started because of a new ambulance that we had gotten. The length of it, or the length of the two ambulances, basically took up the entire full day. Correct? Part of it's to meet with bridge laws, I'm assuming, federal laws that state, different weights on different types of chassis require a vehicle of a certain size. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so ambulances are certainly getting bigger. They're getting heavier. Our ambulances, one thing that we have, we opted to go with four-wheel drive ambulances. So to get a four-wheel drive, you have to put it on a bigger chassis. They're on a 1-ton plus pickup chassis. Back when we started, our ambulances were vans, and then they had we had traditional vans, and then we went to a box type ambulance with a van nose. But they've progressively gotten bigger over the years, and again, because we want to and feel the need to run four-wheel drive ambulances, they're bigger. They're much bigger, and bigger ambulance, as you said, Dan, heavier ambulances. And they certainly take up a lot more room than they used to.
Because that was going to be my other question. Part of our problem was the ambulance that we purchased, the used one, had a nose more like a pickup truck rather than a van, which nobody really gave consideration to the extra length. If we do not do this project, are we going to be able to get ambulances that will fit into that bay as it is now?
No.
So certainly not the same type. The ambulances right now, just like fire apparatus, are outrageously expensive. But yeah, if we were to purchase two new ambulances, the same type we have now, they certainly would not fit in the same bay. But again, another thing we have another thing we
Yeah, I
have
was
to
gonna
look
say,
at.
so pretty much then what I'm trying to get verify is, in a sense, our hands are kind of tied. Um,
Yeah, if we want to keep the same style that we have, then you're right, Dan. We're kind of we're kind of stuck and we're short on room.
And if I can jump in there, Chief, I did a little research because that's exactly what happened, Danny. You're right. When we first got that used ambulance, that was a scenario. But since that time, they've added link to the box of the back of the ambulance. So no matter which one we were to get now, they've increased the size of the one we used to have.
okay. And that's our again, that's going back to the federal bridge laws.
Well,
Correct.
I'm only speaking of the manufacturers of what's the new ambulances. And Pete can jump in again. He knows more about it than I do. But not only is it a difference from a van nose to a truck nose, whether it's 4-wheel drive, but I was told by the manufacturers, because I was hung up on that too. Maybe we just get a couple more van noses and solve the problem. But they added on to the boxes in the back as well. It's not just the van nose anymore. That's created an issue.
Yeah, absolutely, Andy. I mean, the boxes on these things, they're just much bigger. I mean, I started off my career in the back of an E-Series Ford van, and that's all we had, and they've just progressively gotten bigger, longer, heavier.
Better.
They are, yeah, they're much improved, but again, a subject for another day. The cost of these ambulances now are $350,000 to $400,000, which is ludicrous in my personal opinion. So, I mean, when the time comes to replace, we're going to have to take a good hard look at what we have and what the other options are.
As I say, that these numbers are just staggering. Is there a possibility of making the engineer's crib smaller, knocking out that wall and moving the wall back? Or actually, no, I know that the way the building is built, well, can't do it.
Yeah, because that actually came up as a thought in the process. The end was, hey, maybe we blow that wall out and make a little more room there. But then,
It's a bearing wall.
yeah,
The way the roof is designed, that's a bearing wall. So you'd have to put steel in there. I'm just having a hard time with another $250,000 going into a building that all we do is dump money into. From the day it's been built, we've done nothing but dump money into this thing. Pete?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm clear in how I articulate my concerns. It is not questioning the validity of the project and the need to have the proper facilities in the building and the right storage and the right tankers and the right, I mean, you're the professional, you determine where that is, and we have to figure out how to pay for it. My challenge, and I've thought about this quite a bit, and I'm still not comfortable, is utilizing ARPA funds. In effect, makes sense for this project, but dismisses the other 20. That we have 25 projects left that we haven't even put funds on yet. This project started at 100,000 and went to one that we approved. Then we approved 161, and now to Dan's point, we have to approve 239. We'll use over 50% of our outstanding reserves, which we had expected to try to hold firm as the other projects were being developed, and some will come in less and some will come in more. But using ARPA as the funding mechanism, although making sense for this particular project with the time sensitivity, would be in effect dismissing the importance relative to the public commitment that we've made to utilizing the ARPA funds for the other 25 projects we don't even know what the costs are yet, but we put a number on them. And we would effectively deplete, again, over 50% of our reserves. And so my issue is with using ARPA as a funding mechanism, not the need for the project or the quality of the work that went into developing the project or the facts associated with the real cost of the projects. I mean, I have full confidence in the the building committee and the chief's recommendation. I'm just uncomfortable using ARPA funds, recognizing that it will put some pressure on all of this. I clearly I'm not, that's not at a loss to me, but I think of the overall overarching goals associated with ARPA and what we had agreed to use ARPA for. And now I'm starting to feel like it's disproportionately being used at potentially to the detriment of the other projects. And we haven't prioritized those projects. If we did, and this was number one, okay, but we haven't even done that. We haven't done that yet, but we're clearly going to be financially challenged with half our reserves gone for this. That's my issue. It's not with the importance of the project, but using ARPA as the funding mechanism to continue to fund the project. That's the part I can't, I'm not comfortable with. And I know there's some good rational reasons why that we should do it. I'm just not there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mark?
I propose someone with a compromise then. I think Peter's right that I would hate to take half of the reserve and just put it into one ARPA project to the detriment of others. We have increased this once already through no fault of the building committee or the chief. This price has skyrocketed. I have one question first before I propose the compromise. Did we say yes on the active shooter gear for 13,000, or were we waiting on that? Does anybody know the answer to that one?
For the fire department,
Yes. Donna, do you know the answer to that?
I think you made the recommendation that you thought you could find out within your budget. Do you recall that?
Yes, we were gonna, I was just wondering, because if we had committed to that, you know, the chief would be willing to forego that to this project.
We never
Well,
funded that, but the last conversation we had is that you.
That's a
said
good
you-
point, Andy. We're gonna work that out somehow with shared gear, protective gear. Somehow we'll get to that through another means if we have to. What, I hate to abandon this project. I'm being uncomfortable coming up with the 78, but I'd like to be assured that if we gave some portion of that we could find it somewhere else in the town budget. Maybe we can, I know what, 20 of it is a contingency.
Roughly 20,000.
So what did that leave? 68 or 58?
58.
58.
I would propose, and this will still keep us up. This will still keep us at, what do we have? 146 in there now? It would keep us at 116 or so if we committed another 25 or 30 to it. I mean, that would have to be the end of it there. And put some of the onus on finding the money somewhere else. I just hate to flat out say we can't use some of it. So that's how I feel, guys. I think that's fair to all points. Dan?
If I can
how do you feel
chime
about
in
that?
here, if you're going to take money elsewhere, you're going to have to find out if that's going to then require money to fund CHRO. And if it is, we're going to be, if it is, we're going to miss the deadline.
And that may be something we have to do just to get this thing going instead of just saying we're not going to do it. Now
Well,
you're
then you're
starting
gonna
to
miss the
zero.
deadline. You're going to miss the deadline now.
If we
Because
do enough,
we can't come to you. The building committee cannot come to the board of selectmen with a recommendation to approve without the funds approved. And we can't get the funds approved until we go through the whole piece of, if not supplemental appropriation, where you're going to find it in the budget, number one, and number two is going to be, then will CHRO kick in? And I mean, we can probably get that answer, you know, with a phone call. But if it is going to kick in, it's going to change the price. It's going to raise
Andy,
the price more.
Andy, what's your feeling on, you know, if we can get half from ARPA what other avenues do we have through town funds to finish this off?
Well, there's a couple things I could chime in on, and this is not any criticism of what Mal said. The town attorney got back to me this afternoon, and he said that we would, regardless whether he still stands tall and whether it's ARPA funds or supplemental appropriations or town funds whatsoever, that we still have to use the charo requirement. So I had a meeting with Richard in my office regarding another proposal when Ken called, and he let us know as late as this afternoon. So Mal wasn't privy to that. So Mal, I apologize. The other thing we could do, and this is once again, after hearing how
When does our town attorney override the CHRO guru of the state? And you don't have to answer that, but this should not have come up at this meeting. This should have been put on the table earlier, and I'll stop talking.
All right, so if I'm able to continue without interruption, I'll explain that. This was contained when the town attorney reviewed it, and he had it in there that it was subject to Charo. He's not changing his mind, so it was brought up before. We checked with him again today to make sure after the information we got through the building committee to follow up, and he still stands by when they reviewed the documents that they wanted in there. So I'm not trying to be argumentative. That's the statement that comes from the town attorney, and that's we have that, and he's going to send that in writing. My only recommendation could be, now that I hear what the selectmen are saying, and got Richard and Mal, who are very capable and done a great job on handling these projects. Unfortunately, these things have arisen, and we have to deal with it. One thing we can do is they're right. There is a 60-day deadline, but hopefully the contractor, knowing that the bids came in over budget, that we could possibly have a conversation with them to see if they'll extend that while we try to get approval for funds. And if they were to do that, I think that would satisfy the situation or the argument here, because if you don't want to take all of it out of ARPA funds, we still would have to go through that process. And I still think you would need a supplemental appropriation. So if we weren't going to fund it all out of the ARPA projects, I think you should probably just hopefully try to get a supplemental approval for the additional funds, if that's what the selectmen are leaning towards. And that would depend on whether the contractor would be willing to extend that, knowing it came in over bid. And we're not really trying to muscle him to lower his bid. To say, hopefully he would understand that. I don't know. I'm not, I haven't dealt with him that much. Maybe these guys could weigh in on that, but that would be my recommendation at this point if it's not going to get funded through ARPA.
Richard, have you shared the contractor's note with Andy?
Which one was that?
Good time.
I'm sorry, Mal.
Have you shared the contractor's note?
The one that we got yesterday?
From Jeff.
Yeah, I have not. I think the thing, Andy, to answer your question, I think between building committee and our architect, I'm sure that tomorrow we can reach out to Saracen and ask them what they feel comfortable beyond the 60 days as far as holding their number. And then we can report back to you as far as what the answer is.
Question, and I'm not sure that, both Andy and the building committee, what if we were to do the 58 but not the contingency? Is that an option?
Yep, that's an option. And if we run over, then we're going to have to come up with some money from somewhere.
I'm looking for kind of input from, thank you for the confirming that.
I wouldn't say it's a good idea to do it without contingency.
I understand. I'm just, trying to get input from both Andy
Well, don't we also have this other funding that is required that Andy mentioned that our town attorney said we have to build in? So that's really not the cost. The cost is $5,000 or $10,000 more already, right? After that confirmation from, right? Am I missing that? That wasn't part of this. That's what I heard all along. So we don't even, the number's high, right?
Pete, I don't think we can answer that because
Okay.
we still have to
Okay.
dispute whether we need to do it or not. The
Oh,
town
okay.
attorney can take one position and the state can take a separate position.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to pick out a scab here. I thought I heard that we should be anticipating that. So no, that's fine. And if Richard feels we can at least see if there's an option, that would clearly take a little bit of pressure off, since we're sort of going around here. And again, I realize I'm the one that's probably causing a lot of the going around, but if Richard can verify that tomorrow, it would seem like that's not a huge risk to take, to at least understand if Andy's suggesting if it's an option.
Let's Andy.
Yeah, once again, this is all unfolding, at tonight's meeting. And haven't had a couple sit downs as things allow, so it's not pointing fingers and questions are coming up, but I hate to put people on the spot, but I think when we check with the contractor, and correct me if I'm wrong, Richard and Mel, most recently, as late as yesterday, today, I think they had the charter requirement in their bid, so I don't think there's an additional cost if we were to go with the low bidder. Am I right or wrong in that statement, Richard?
You are correct. And I think that the building committee and the architect have, there's some strategies that we can use that we can make sure that the Sierra Charro is not an issue. I think the biggest overriding issue in front of us right now is the funding source. And obviously that's something for you, Andy, and the Board of Selectmen to find the sources. And then we tomorrow immediately can talk to the general contractor and find out how long they can hold their number without having to.
We already know that. I think we need to share that note with the people here so there's no false understandings if we come back with a negative. I don't have a copy of the note. However, I know the contents of the note. You have the note.
Yeah, what the contractor is anticipating, Saracen, is that they would start the work when the weather breaks, which I think dovetails in what Chief Peter Starkle wants to have happen, that having that type of work happen during December, January, and February will be extremely disruptive to their operation. So that I think works out well. But the contractor is really pushing for an indication sooner rather than later as far as the commitment. But there again, we'll talk to them beyond December 20th. How soon, how after that they can hold the number.
I believe his exact statements were, according to what Jeff told me, was he would protect us from price increases until the spring. And if that wasn't good enough, he would pull his bid. So to say that we can go back and now get money after he's already threatened to pull his bid, it's certainly worth trying. I don't disagree with that. But let's go into this with everybody with the same expectation.
Mel, I don't think any of us. Mel, I don't think any of us are lobbying.
Let me finish. He left $60,000 on the table. He's not stupid. He knows he can bid higher and still be a low bid. I am not one who agrees, and you can do whatever you want. And I don't disagree that we shouldn't look elsewhere, but I think we all need to have all the information.
If I may, like I said, it's a sticky situation. I think we can ask them the question. It's a one-word answer. We came in over budget. I know you have a 60-day time frame, which is normal or standard in any bid process. We want to go with you, but we have to have more time to get the extra funding that we need in order to honor the bid. I think that's a valid question, but I can't answer for him. And if he doesn't do it, then we have our answer.
All right, so let's pursue that. I mean, just personally in doing your own business with people, you don't want to feel like you're being held hostage and you got a price from somebody and then he's going to pull his bid. You know, if he wants to work, he'll work with us. If it doesn't really matter to him, then he's not going to work with us. But it seems to me you wouldn't give up a good opportunity like this to work for the town and make the money you were expecting to make. Richard, you feel comfortable proposing the question to him and talking about our situation?
Oh, absolutely. No problem at all.
I mean, what is the other alternative that we say we can't come up with that 78 because it infringes upon other ARPA projects and we just scrap the whole thing? And that's not a good idea either.
So it sounds to me like it's worth asking the question to find out what all of our options are, and then we'll have all the information, or if there's other items that need to be clarified, and then we can make a final decision. I think, again, as I said before, at least for me personally, I'm not questioning the project. I'm uncomfortable with the recommended funding mechanism, but I recognize now these are challenges that will be created by not agreeing there. So having Richard do that would help me better understand what our options are, and but I don't think that's a big risk at this juncture.
As I said, I would agree to the construction budget. I'm just wondering if we could cut that contingency sum. Everybody is saying how they are so certain that none of that money is going to get used anyways. And understanding it gets turned back, but it won't be turned back until the end of the project, which is going to be, the end of next summer.
Danny,
Pardon me.
the statement was not that none of the money will be used. The statement was he can't imagine much, if any. I mean, I would neglect the potential by letting people walk away from this thinking, oh, we're putting 20,000 in there, but guaranteed none is getting spent. So I think we got to put the facts out there.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mel. I think we have to assume it's going to be spent, and then if it comes back, great. It's
No, I don't think you necessarily have to assume it's all going to be spent, but I think you have to.
Well,
you can't assume it's not all going to be spent. Yeah.
right. Like in my mind, I think once it's accounted for, it's spent. But that's me personally, and I think somewhere in the middle is probably a reasonable person might come to that conclusion that, well, probably not, but who would be surprised if some of it. And so, yeah, no, I mean, I think that's fair. It's there for a reason. If there was no chance of using it, it wouldn't be there.
10% contingency is a very high number percentage-wise, but let's not kid ourselves. This is not a big project. I don't know the exact number of square feet, but I believe it's under 100 or just over 100 square feet of building. It's not a lot.
It's crazy. So it's 2,000 square feet, $2,000 a square foot. How are we doing?
Hey,
Lord almighty.
I don't disagree with you.
Holy moly. I mean, I know the feeling. I'm not a builder. I'm just saying, like as a layperson, I'm like, really? And then he's going to be not happy that he didn't bid higher. So I don't know. I think we move on from this conversation. I think there's a lot of great content, a lot of great information. Richard's got to follow up. That's going to help. And then we'll go from there, Mr. Chairman. I think we've got a lot of great information as we always get from these folks. And I'm just interested in what the answer is before I would agree to do anything myself tonight.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman,
Yes, Mark.
I kind of feel the way that you do. But going over that 58, that gets to me because now we're under 100 with our reserve, and so just in today's climate, people are making a lot more money than they used to. So if you come in with your bid and you have a contingency, that favors the builder. You get your bid out there, you do the best work you can, and you either made what you thought you were going to make or you didn't. The responsibility is on them. So I know contingencies are a part of business, especially when you're working in the public sector. Where in the private sector, that would never happen. You gave me a price to roof this thing for me. I'm the general contractor, and then you come back and said you want this, and that. That doesn't even fly. So that disturbs me. But after this week, I'm not going to have a say. I if it was right now, I would kind of agree with Dan, but going with more than that, it troubles me a little bit, considering how we almost tripled this project from when it started out with Chief Starkell's getting some quotes at 80,000. Now we're up to what?
239,100.
For 100 square
That
feet.
price was not Chief Starkell's price. That was what he conveyed to us. That was given to the fire department before. And it didn't include anywhere near what, I mean, we got to understand where these numbers come from. And you will experience that with many more projects if you looked at the projects on your list that haven't come in yet. This was a price that existed almost a year before Chief Starkell took over. Andy, what was the name of that company that was soliciting us?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but they were
They were the same ones that were soliciting the roof.
yeah, so we used them for budgetary purposes. They came out, and at the time it was under Nick Wallach. They gave us that price.
Right.
I believe it was the Gordian Group
There you go.
through
Thank
the
you.
Easy IQC purchasing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, just for my name's sake, Chief Wallach had got a quote from the Gordian Group for around 60,000. When I became chief and we started this project, they'd given me a quote for 82,000.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, and again, that was without all the soil testing and all the other issues that they have since found.
That was design build, Danny.
Agreed, Dan, but sometimes it makes you feel like you're being taken advantage of, though. And I know that's not your fault, Mal, or Richard's fault.
No, I agree with you.
Sometimes you feel like you're being taken advantage of because of the climate and construction right now, and I don't know, it kind of does leave a bad taste in my mouth. But I want to get this done because I'm a great supporter of the fire department and know their needs, but it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, at this point, what are our next steps? Because we have to have some next steps. We have this paperwork in front of us. I know you're not keen to accepting it, and Pete. What do we need to be able to move forward with something? And I'm putting that out just as a question to Andy, building committee, and the other selectmen.
Danny, I think we need to start by getting the answer tomorrow. Or we may not get the answer tomorrow, but posing the question tomorrow, will the contractor go back and revisit his numbers? Once that comes in, that gives us a number we have to come up with. And then there are going to have to be, if we want to stick to this time frame, if he won't extend and if he won't change his numbers, then we have to come up with special meeting dates for the various committees to approve funds elsewhere if you're not going to take them from ARPA.
Okay, I
They'll get it done by the 20th.
I apologize. I don't remember anybody asking him to go back and uh, modify his numbers.
Okay.
I
then
think it
That
was
is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Get an
What we're
extension.
asked, well, excuse me, let me interrupt. What we're asking Saracen General Contractors to do, in spite of their bid documents committing them to holding their price to December 20th, what we're asking them is, while the town arranges additional funding, is what is the absolute positive last date that they can hold their current base bid quote? What beyond December 20th? That way,
yes.
town manager's office, Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen will have an idea of how much time we have before they need to start talking to us all about not being able to hold their base bid number. And I think that's if I understand it, that is the Board of Selectmen's charge to the
That
building
has to
committee.
happen tomorrow. And if they agree to an extended date, we have to have special meetings scheduled to meet that date. Even with the holidays coming up, we have to have special meetings scheduled.
Oh, we need to find out what that date is. Am I correct
what I
on that with
said.
everybody?
That's correct.
That's what I said.
Okay. Well, yeah. Andy, guys,
Yeah, we could ask him to extend it another 60 days. That might get us past there. Well, then we could look at the calendar. If we have to schedule special meetings like Mal says, then we have to. But if he's willing, it's an ethical thing. We don't have the money because it came in too high. We didn't know that till we got the bids. And if he really wants it, like I said, I can't speak for the gentleman, but if we share our problem with him and saying we're moving forward, but in order that what we have our charter, our process is going to take us longer than the dead end of the 60 days to get the money to approve this project. Will you work with us? And I think we have a 50-50 shot at that. I don't know.
okay. Mark, Peter,
I think that's reasonable. I think we need to know that. So I would think that that's worth doing, and that will give us more information, and then we can reconvene at that juncture on this particular issue. So I suggest that we do that and move forward. If we need to adjust pull the motion out, whatever I think administratively we need to do to move on to the next agenda item, I think we have a sort of a clear next step, at least from my perspective, through tomorrow. Anyway, we got a clear next step.
okay. Mark,
Richard, thanks for clarifying that and being willing to do that. This is a little bit cynical, but that 100 square feet on the building is not going to drive out and save somebody. If it was me, I'd rather have that $250,000 to buy another ambulance or a great used ambulance. So if you put all this in perspective, you get like channeled into what it is that you're doing, whether the building committee, whether we need to put this on the building, and then you think about the cost of it and go, well, I'd rather have another ambulance in another station somewhere that can actually save somebody, because the building's not driving anywhere to save somebody. So I'm just making that comment, but I'm happy as one of my last decisions here to go along with what Richard proposed and Dan and Peter.
okay.
Chairman Rivera, just for the record, the addition that is being proposed is around 250 square feet. It originally started around 200 square feet. So it's not 100 square feet. What is ultimately going to get built is going to be on 250 square feet.
Yeah. And we also have December 7th if issues arise with not being able to extend. So this can come up again. And I'll throw out the shot again that a lot of this is being driven when you have buildings that just don't physically have the square footage of what is required for what they're trying to house in today's world. And we're finding that multiple areas where we've outgrown the facilities, and it has to be addressed somehow, some way. Okay. Thank you guys. An incredibly great presentation again. Let's see how we can get this worked out. Because I guess we really don't have much of an option. But let's see what we can get worked out. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, building committee. Thank you, other select people. Okay. Charter Commission update.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item E, 8E Charter Revision Commission update. At the November 2nd, 2023 Board of Selectmen meeting, the decision was made to restart the clock on establishing a Charter Revision Commission. After reviewing the calendar and the Board of Selectmen meeting dates for the remainder of 2023, following our two potential timelines for the restart of the charter revision process. These options allow approximately only 4 months for the Charter Revision Commission to prepare the draft report, which I want to state is very tight. So option one, you could start the clock on November 16th, and the 30 days would be December 16th. December Board of Selectmen meeting are scheduled for December 7th and the 21st. Appointment at the December 7th meeting does not allow enough time to recruit, and December 21st is beyond the 30 days, so I wouldn't recommend that. A special meeting could be called, act on and appoint. Suggested dates would be December 14th, once again during the holidays. The other option is start the clock December 7th, which I would recommend, but that's me, not we, that's me. And then 30 days would be January 6th. The January Board of Selectmen meeting is scheduled for January 4th and the 18th. Appointments at January 4th meeting falls within the 30 days. This allows the new Board of Selectmen time to review the Charter Revision Commission charge. Another option to consider, which I think you should, is to aim for a November 2025 vote on the proposed charter revision, allowing 16 months for the Charter Revision Commission to do their work. To date, it says 11 by the time we sent this packet out, but we now have 12. So to date, we have 12 people have expressed interest in being appointed to the Charter Revision Commission, and they're listed below. The only additional one is I got a correspondence from Terry McManus expressing interest to serve on the Charter Revision Commission or to be considered. So in a nutshell, in past Charter Revision Commissions, I know I've had conversations with different selectmen, because this is now an important item to try to educate themselves. But in the past, Charter Revision Commissions have reached out to all boards and commissions and asked to review their charge and to see if there's anything in the charter that affects how they conduct their business. I'm not sure that that's something this new commission wants to do, or if there's only 4 or 5 items. But even if it is, in order to review and do your work, 4 months is cutting it kind of tight.
Yeah. And we have budget within all of those.
Exactly.
4
In
months.
the middle of the budget season, you're going to have a brand new finance director, and other people are going to be in budget processes as well.
Looking at everything, I would say option 2 is going to be our best bet. Now, the vote on the charter, you have it down as November. Could that be at the referendum, or is that always at a election?
No, that would be an election. November. Referendums are in the spring.
Correct. But okay, but the vote on the Charter Commission's recommendations after approval by the Board of Selectmen, could that be done in that spring, or is it always done during an election period?
I guess it could be done. I'll ask Don. There's normal recommendations of how many months you normally allow the commission and different calendars, but I'll let Donna step in at this point in time. She's the one that's been handling the calendars.
Okay.
So In the past, every time we've done charter revision, we have always voted in November at an election. You can
Okay.
do it at an election or you can do it at a special referendum. So we could schedule a special referendum. Don't know what kind of turnout we would get for just that one charter question. And we would have to look into whether or not we could do it in the May referendum budget vote.
Okay, as I say, it was just, I do not want a special referendum. The cost is what? It's up around $3,000 now for a referendum? Or is that actually low?
I think that might be a little on the low side now, but it's.
Yeah, so I
it's at
don't want to,
least that.
yeah. I don't think that would be wise to spend that kind of money just for this one item. So, okay, it was just a question. I still think option 2 makes the most sense. And then doing it at that, I would be at that November election date. That gives everybody, that's my own personal feeling. What do you, members, what do you think? Peter, Mark?
Yeah,
Or,
it sounds like it's a comprehensive project that, I don't want anyone to feel rushed. It's pretty important. We don't do it on a regular basis, and I would defer to others on that, but, I'm not my bias isn't to rush anybody with regard to something that's pretty important. And we have the time, and so I'm not against that at all.
Okay.
So Peter, you're in favor of option 2 like Danny is?
Yeah, I don't, unless there's something else there, I don't, that's, I think, where the town leans. I think Dan's recommendation is there. I have no issue with it at all.
Dan, I like option 2 also. So if the three of us like it, I think this is something yeah, okay, Andy.
Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, so before you vote, that's good. The other thing I would recommend is because last time we didn't have as many people wanting to be on the committee. Now that you have 12 names, I think you guys should consider adding the number of people as well. Because right now we have it at 7, so you could bump that up to 9 or even more.
I thought 11, I thought jacking it up to 11 was part of option 2, because I'm in favor of increasing it too. If more people want to participate, I don't want to exclude them.
So is there an option for alternates too? Or no?
I don't believe so. I'll defer to Donna again. She's the one that handles the charter revision.
I don't believe so. I don't
Okay.
think the statute allows for that.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be sort of strange to exclude one person.
I just want to clarify, when you're talking about option 2 for the timeline, are you looking at the November 2025 date for
Yes.
the referendum? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And how many members, Donna, per charter? Is there a certain amount? There's 7, 9. Are there magical numbers as long as they're, odd?
I'm displaying on the screen the options. There's nothing that requires it to be an odd number, but we have always gone with an odd number. But for the 11 member Charter Revision Commission, you could have 6 from the majority party and you could have 3 public officials. Does that
Seems
answer your?
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, we also had another person put his hat in the ring tonight too. So I don't know if we're up to 12, 13. My only warning, when you have the more people, the harder it is to have everybody able to get together to meet, just because of the way people's lives are.
I know, Donna, if I may get some clarification. So is there like a quorum? Like if you say you went to example, as an example, 13 and you included everybody, and does the meeting still happen if 7 show up or 5 show up? Is there some sort of relative quorum? If there's 13, you have to have 9, is there something like that? Do you know?
I believe the quorum would be a simple majority.
So it's 7.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I remember somebody mentioned it, Dan, and I get it. The bigger, the harder it is to wrangle the whole group. But I remember somebody's comment who served on it in the past saying sometimes it was a challenge to get enough people to the meetings. And so maybe it is better to have a bigger number, let everyone participate, and that way is that you basically have between 7 and 13 coming to all the meetings. I'm not against it. I don't want to exclude anybody if they really want to participate. Now we should go. Are we going back? We're going back out to this group and making sure the people that were expressed interest in the past still want to serve. That's part of this too?
Andy?
We can do that. If that's a pleasure, of the board. And then I think I had heard a couple comments that some of the people are new, that we would want like a little bit of a bio from them of why they want to be on the Charter Revision Commission, so the Board of Selectmen could make an informative decision.
I think that's a good idea because I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of these people. I don't know all of them, and I do remember that a couple just said, "Hey, I want to serve," and it might be interesting to actually know what is driving them because it's a pretty big commitment. So they might have specific ideas. There might be something that we should at least be aware of, or at least puts everyone on the same footing. Where some people actually outlined a little more information about themselves or why they want to serve, and others didn't. So if we go back to this group and say we're confirming the number, everyone, if you haven't already, please provide, a paragraph or two, however we're going to word it, but just sort of why you want to serve and what experience you may bring or what your concerns are or your focus would be. I think Andy makes a good point there. Maybe we should at least make sure everyone is giving us information as to why they want to serve and as we go ahead and approve the list, because I don't know everybody on the list, and that would help me for sure.
It's definitely, it's the driving document that basically lays out the operation of the town. So it's very, very important, and it needs to be, which I think it is now, very fair to all. It's a workable document. So it's important that it remain workable, that we don't get people trying to literally force it one way or another to, it needs to be fair for all participants of the town. As I say, since we have the action, we can change the numbers tonight.
You won't be taking formal action tonight. That would be at the next meeting. It would be with the new board. The resolution that would be passed at the next meeting is to restart the process. So the current board could make a recommendation that the number be increased and that you follow the timeline that was discussed. But no formal action is required tonight.
Okay, but I do think that we need to forward something to the new board just so that they have some information within which to make a decision. So, just because, we're going to have a couple of people that are brand new to this process. So what do we need to do tonight then? We're just basically moving or forwarding to our next meeting that just.
You can direct me to make a recommendation on the next agenda to the new board with the following items that we discussed.
I'm just trying to make sure that I'm looking at the dates. Yes. So Is that all? Is that satisfactory with everyone? And do we want to suggest increasing the number? Okay. I got a thumbs up from.
Yeah, I would
Mark.
suggest, as Andy's outlining that, we suggest consideration of increasing the number as well. I think I'm good with that recommendation. Thank you.
Okay. So is there any action that we have to do to move that along then?
No, you just directed me to do that. That'll be that, and my office will send out a letter to the people that express interest with the comments to send a resubmit that you still have your interest to serve, and a quick 1 or 2 paragraph bio of why you should be considered by the board to serve in that capacity.
Okay, perfect. Moving on. This one hopefully should be very simple. That
Yes,
would
Mr.
be,
Chairman, 9A, approve emergency management performance grant application. Attached is a copy of the State of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection Emergency Management Performance Grant application for the period from October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024. This is an annual grant application which provides funding for the emergency management operations of the town of Hebron, and then there's a proposed resolution.
okay, and this is the same thing we do every year. The proposed resolution resolved that the town of Hebron may enter into with and deliver to the state of Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection, Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security, any and all documents which it deems to be necessary or appropriate, and further resolve that Andrew J. Turney, as town manager of the town of Hebron, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents on behalf of the town of Hebron, and to do and perform all acts and things which he deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents. This authorization is for the EMPG grant for the performance period October 1st, 2023 to September 30th, 2024 in the amount of $5,453.30 with a local match of $5,453.30. Hearing the resolution, is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
And myself, aye. Okay. Our next thing, Andy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nickel NIP funds proposed in accounting. So attaches information from the Hebron Green Committee regarding the proposal for the use of the nickel NIP fund receipts for the town of Hebron and received from the NIP surcharge, Connecticut General Statute 22A-244B. The finance director has confirmed that the NIP funding has been posted to the town's miscellaneous special grant fund 007. The choice of the fund is to permit accrual of the funding received and for future receipts according to the general accepted accounting principles, which is GAAP, GAPP. Revenue is received twice annually in October and in April. To date, the account balance is $22,341.74. Members of the Green Committee will be in attendance to provide a brief comment and respond to questions. I think they also had sent the memo and they listed the bullet points which they are wishing to use those funds for. I've met with them. They've agreed to work through the Public Works Director, Paul Forrest. That way there they have an avenue to the financial reporting system and doing requisitions to expend that money.
Okay.
I know they've been waiting patiently. I see a bunch of them on here, so thank you for your patience.
Okay. I'll open the floor up to the Green Committee people, and they can state their desires, and then we'll read the motion. Or actually, you know what? Let me read the motion. That opens it, gets it on the floor. Then they can make their statements. We can ask questions, and then we'll move it forward. So move that the Hebron Board of Selectmen give the town manager and the Green Committee approval to spend NIP funds, NIP funds, as per the Green Committee's current and future recommendations. All expenses from the fund will need approval by the town manager. Okay, and I see Caitlin on. So, hello, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. So we're here tonight because we just wanted to chat. I have Mike Harder with me and Lindsay Ockman also on the line. And as you guys know, the town and all towns in Connecticut get this fund twice yearly. Hebron, as many towns, or it's fairly new. We're trying to figure out what to do with this money. So the proposal that you have in front of you has a cover letter. It has a little bit of a more blown out plan for each one of those three items that we're discussing in our letter. And really the bottom line is that we are just trying to not only combat a little bit of this NIP problem, but, just educate, get some composting done. The whole point of this fund is really environmental initiatives. And that's talking about, for the most part, waste reduction. So that could be NIPs on the side of the road. That could be keeping food waste out of the waste stream. All the stuff that we have, focused on little bits in the past. With this money, we really have an opportunity to make a dent in some of these projects. So, I'm not sure if Mike or Lindsay has anything else to say, but we've been working for probably the last several months trying to make a plan, including AHM. The funding itself isn't necessarily for mental health or anything like that, but we really think that there are some things that we can be doing as a community. A lot of you have cleaned roadways with us, so what's out there. It's not a good situation with the NIPs, so we're really just trying to make this holistic plan, and it involves AHM, it involves food waste diversion with Public Works, and then of course a lot of education and outreach, which you guys know is kind of our thing for the community. So we're really just trying to make the most of this money and do the best we can for the most amount of people.
Thank you. Peter or Mark?
Well, I'll start. I always appreciate the thoughtful approach that you take, and obviously the detail that's presented. And I don't have any questions, but appreciate the detail that was provided and the thought that's gone behind it, and hopefully we can again continue to make progress in some of these important issues with these funds. Thanks.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm in complete support of this. I'm not an expert on what Caitlin and her committee's doing, but anything that benefits our community makes it cleaner. I'm not surprised at this, but I'm glad that there's included some prevention in this, and you get the right people. Because if you're picking up NIPs, it's because somebody's abusing them and throwing them on the side of the road. So you kind of got two problems going in there together. They're littering and creating a unsightly litter on the side of the road. But plus somebody's drinking while they're driving or walking, throwing these things. So I like your two-pronged approach to this, Caitlin. I'm in complete support of it.
I agree. I have a couple of questions. One of them, are you finding people, are we finding that the waste stream recycling levels are going up, going down, or basically staying the same? And my other question is, I've had a few people say, well, if China and all these countries, nobody wants any of this stuff, where's all the garbage going? It's probably just getting buried anyway. Do you have any kind of responses?
Yeah, so the waste diversion in general is probably a larger conversation that we should all be having. This is a little bit more specific to food waste diversion because that's obviously, I'm not sure if you guys know, it's typically the heaviest portion of MSW, municipal solid
Okay.
waste. So, food waste in general will help with that. As a town as a whole, if we're talking about recycling in general, typically we're slowly creeping in the right direction. The state itself has really lofty waste diversion goals for I think 2024. It's like 60% waste, diversion by 20. It's like really lofty. And, this plan that we are proposing is really trying to help Hebron get a little bit closer to that number. Because, while we are recycling and the town does truly, like, we do a great job, like a lot of people really care. There are certainly places for improvement. So to answer your first question, the long and short of it is yes, every year we slowly creep up and our recycling rates are a little bit better. But overall, to make a big dent in our actions and what we're doing, food waste diversion is one really large portion of that. And so in this plan, we talk about different kinds of contributors. So that would start with businesses and larger organizations that might be like the school system and stuff like that. And then that would probably trickle down eventually to residents in a little bit of a later phase. As far as your second question goes, I mean, that's really the $1 million question right now. Mike and Lindsay probably can talk to this probably better than I can. But yeah, recycling is tough right now. The contamination rates, are all over the place. There's not really a downstream market for it anymore. So there are, stories, of course, of it getting incinerated and stuff like that. And that's kind of one of the beauties of food waste diversion is that you can take that and make energy and make compost and make things that you can give back to the community. Quantum Biopower is the processing facility and really the number one processing facility in Connecticut that does this. And Blue Earth is the hauler. It's really the fastest way to make a huge impact on what we are shipping out of this town so that we can stop worrying about, all these things that are going to potentially the incinerator and really start keeping them here in the state. Let's get these things back into our community. Literally, Blue Earth gives you bags of dirt if you start working with them. So, there's a lot that we can do at home. And this is really just sort of one step towards, finding a solution for these issues because you're right, there's not a lot of downstream. Even if it's clean these days, it's really tough to find a home for our recycling, for our trash, all of it. So that's why it really begins with us on a town level and figuring out what we can do for ourselves to make ourselves more sustainable for the future.
Okay, and then one other question. Those people who have the home pickup services, would they also be able to participate in some of these types of recycling efforts? Or how
So-
would that happen? Or
So this proposal is really for food waste diversion. So this is think like banana peels and your pumpkins and stuff like that, and reaching residents because there's a huge barrier to entry to get enough people to make this cost effective for the town and stuff like that. So that's a little bit farther down the line for us. I think we really want to get our feet wet with the larger contributors like let's say Blackledge or Ram or something like that. So eventually, yes, ideally, typically what towns are doing with Blue Earth is you will get like those roll-off carts. And
okay,
like Glastonbury has some of those at their transfer station, and then they have some of those at their town hall. And Andy, I'm talking to you when I say town hall. I'm going to be begging for those roll-off carts behind our town hall one of these days. But there are other places to put it besides the transfer station. But realistically, if you are like an always customer or, a private citizen who doesn't typically use the transfer station on the weekend, if we were to, in a wonderful universe, find space for this down at our transfer station, you would probably just need a sticker. Realistically, we would be able to open it to all residents if we did the roll-off bin at the transfer station, but you'd probably still need a sticker.
Okay, thank you. I see Mike's on. Did you want to say anything?
The only comment I was going to make on the point that was raised earlier about whether material that's really intended to be recycled now is just thrown in the trash, and somebody made reference to China. When China shut off its borders to a lot of the recyclables that were generated over here and probably in other parts of the world, it was definitely a shock to the system. But what resulted was other facilities started to be designed and constructed over here to fill the void. So I think there was a period when a lot of the recyclables were just thrown out. And because there was no market, the price for recyclables, as Andy knows, really dropped. We were getting paid for the recyclables, and for a period of time, and probably even now, it costs some. But the situation's changing where there are going to be more facilities built and operating that will take the recyclable material, produce real products. So they'll be in greater demand, and hopefully at some point the towns will be getting paid, maybe not as much as we got paid in the past, but we'll be getting paid for these materials rather than having to pay for them to be disposed. I think it's, I think the change in China was a wake-up call, and hopefully things are going to be continuing to move in that direction.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Hearing the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye, please. Peter?
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark?
Mark Rivera, aye.
Myself, aye. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we will probably be back. You guys might be hearing from us on more plans on this. This was just kind of a broad plan, but we will definitely keep you posted as, events pop up and other stuff like that, because we know that you guys are big proponents of what we do on the Green Committee. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item, I need to change the page. Our next item would be, is there any other, our draft agenda. So again, it's here. If you have anything to add, whatever, get it to the town staff so that it can get entered. Is there any other new business? Hearing none. Moving along, our consent agenda. These are items to be considered routine in nature, which the board may or may not need to discuss individually. We only have one item. There are no tax refunds this month or this board meeting around. So it's just the November 2nd, 2023 regular meeting. So does anybody have any changes or alterations on that? The only one I had was that my suggestion was that if they are going to list the outlawing of firearms, that it be also added in or other dangerous weapons. It is not that I'm an advocate for outlawing the firearms. I just wanted to make it that if you're going to do one thing, then do them all. Don't just list one item. So I just wanted that as a clarification. Yeah. Since it's just the minutes, I want that as this, an amendment or a correction. We can have that discussion at a future date, not now, but so that would be the only change that I would like to have considered. And other than that, make a motion to approve the minutes as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Peter,
Peter Casper, aye.
Mark,
Mark Rivera, aye.
and myself, aye. With that, I believe our next thing would be our liaison reports. Peter?
I think for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mark?
I think I've done the most talking I've ever done as a selectman tonight. I am so burned out right now. And, I didn't have anything to report anyway, but good job, guys.
And thank you.
Getting through all this. It is just not a lot of easy topics tonight.
Well, usually they're not easy topics.
Yeah, true.
So I thank you for your time and service. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Dan.
And myself, I have nothing. So our next thing would be back to our public comment. Yes, Andy?
No, I don't have anything. I was just
Oh, okay.
some of my stuff off.
And I don't have anybody indicating anything here either.
Okay.
I think we're
Well,
all set.
with that,
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that our outgoing member maybe get on the minutes one last time. I'll defer to my friend Mark to do the honors.
So hey, I don't even, what time is it? I'm supposed to say the time.
9:35.
9:35, it's a
9:35.
long meeting that we adjourn.
Attaboy.
Did I say that correctly? I've actually never done that before.
Good job. Good job. Good night,
enough.
all. Everybody,
Yep.
please have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mark, for everything. I really appreciate it.
Actually, we'll see you the 21st, but thank you.
Right. All right. Good night. Thank you.